Hey YouTube, it's Adrian. Just before we get you to this video, do me a favor and head over to pageantlaunch.com. We are starting the world's first dedicated pageant review site, and I would love for you to join our launch team. All you need to do is put in your email address. It's completely free. We are looking to make a pageant industry that is safe, transparent, and fair. I know it's like that most of the time, but over the last year, it's become very evident that it's not like that all of the time. So head over to pageantlaunch.com, put in your email address, and let's get you to this video.
I am Mattea Henderson, Miss Earth Canada 2019, and this is my interview with the Pageant Project.
Hey everyone, it's Adrian from the Pageant Project. Hope you're all doing very well. And I have a special guest with me today, Mattea Henderson. Mattea Henderson, already screwing up names. Miss Earth Canada 2019. Mattea, welcome to the show. Sorry for butchering your name.
Honestly, it's the fact you got my last name wrong and not my first name wrong that I am very honored about. But thank you so much for having me.
Well, that's my pleasure. How do people normally butcher your first name?
I've gotten
It's not that long.
Mattea, I've gotten Mattea. People ask me, do you have a silent J in your name or a Y? So the fact you got my first name right.
Silent J?
I don't know. It's a thing. It's a thing. I've just left it and I said, no, it's my name.
Okay, I mean, I've been watching a lot of your things and a lot of your other interviews. So I did originally think that your name was Mattea, and then I saw it was Mattea. And I'm very scrupulous about insisting that I get people's names right. So I practiced, obviously, but I didn't practice your surname and screwed that up.
It's
so there's
fine.
a lesson.
It's totally normal.
There's a lesson to be learned from there. Now you're over in Canada. I have interviewed a few Canadian queens before, but certainly not many. So why don't you start with telling us whereabouts in Canada you are and a little bit about it?
Yeah, for sure. So I was actually raised just outside of Toronto, which is about a 6-hour flight from where I am right now in Calgary, Alberta. So if you're well versed with American geography, I'm pretty much, okay, never mind. I'm about 2-hour flight from Vancouver. So I'm right about 2 hours driving from the Rocky Mountains. So I live right on the break in the middle of Canada between the prairies and the mountains, and it is gorgeous. But we do get really bad snow. So it started snowing. We had snow last week, which I was not okay with. And it snows for about 8 months of the year. So it's not great.
When you say you're not okay with it, I mean, there are many reasons one could not be okay with snow. Coming from Australia, every time I see snow, I get excited, but you're not okay with it.
So when it snows here, where specifically I am in Canada, we get really strong Arctic flows of air. So it gets really, really, really cold, and it can go from anywhere from minus 20 degrees Celsius to minus 45 degrees Celsius where I am.
Oh,
that's why I'm not okay.
Okay. Minus 45. That's dangerous level, right? I mean, if you go out there and you're not prepared, that would be properly dangerous.
It is. We are very much well versed as children in our education systems. You wear your mittens and your toque, which is a beanie, I guess most people call it.
Yeah.
Winter jackets, fuzzy socks. You always have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee in a thermos. You have emergency kits in your cars in case you break down on the highway and it's too cold. So we're very well educated to not get stuck in the snow.
Let's all go to Canada, she says. I mean, Chelsea Cameron Horner here has said, hi, Mattea. And I think Chelsea is over in Canada as well. When I had been to Canada once before, because that's where my girlfriend at the time was. And we went to somewhere that was quite cold, but not minus 45. I had been to the US when it was minus 20. Oof. And I didn't know, because we laugh at, for example, UK people when they come to Australia and will get sunburnt.
Oh my gosh.
I did the opposite. It was minus 20 outside. I went outside to take a phone call. I didn't want to interrupt people. I was wearing a t-shirt. I didn't have mittens. And 5 minutes into the phone call, I had to tell the person, you're going to have to hang up because my hand
Hands.
doesn't move.
That's a thing.
Yeah,
That is a thing. I have a quick story for you then if you enjoyed that.
go for
My
it.
my boyfriend's from South Africa. He's Mr. World Canada right now, actually, which is very funny. But he'd never experienced snow and he moved to Toronto. And he
Mhm.
calls me and he goes, I just had the best snowball fight of my life. But he didn't realize how cold his hands would get holding snow. So he runs inside and goes to stick them under hot water. And that's exactly what you don't want to do because you're going to damage your skin because it's such extreme temperatures. So I'm on the phone. I'm like, whatever you do, don't stick your hands under hot water. And he's literally running a hot shower. And you just hear this like excruciating scream. And then he goes, oh, this is why you're not supposed to stand in hot water after you go out in the snow because your body's not used to it. And I just sat there and I'm going, you're going to die in Canada from snow.
Was he okay?
Oh, he's fine. He's totally fine. But that was his first true experience with a Canadian winter.
So why is that a bad idea to if you had the snowball fight to run your hands under hot water? Because I know nothing about dealing with cold weather, obviously.
Okay, so think about it this way. When you go for a really, really hot run in Australia and you come home and you've had a great workout and you go to step into a cold shower, the temperature is going to feel a lot more, I guess, neutral because your body's going to be so warm.
Yeah.
When you go from extreme cold to extreme heat, it can actually damage the sensitivity of your nerves because it's so extreme from one variance to the other.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not nice.
All
Just
right,
don't
well.
do it. Just don't do it.
I've learned something today. I'm not okay with cold. I have been to Canada, as I said, and the only thing that I know about Canadians that I can remember is one, you're crazy about maple syrup.
Yes.
Like literally, you will fight each other over who makes the best maple syrup, and apparently the best ones come out of a can. And secondly, poutine, the French fries
Mm-hmm.
drowned in gravy, which I do not like. I'm sorry,
That is fine. That's
I
fine.
can't do it with the cheese. And do
Oh.
you like it? Are there any secrets to finding a good one? To me, it's just a big bowl of grease.
Okay, so there's different variations. So if you're in a French-speaking province, they say poutine, but if you're in an
Mhm.
English-speaking province, they call it poutine. A little bit different,
Right.
same food. What I've learned is you can actually do different variations of toppings. So you'll always have your base French fries, and then you can put
Yeah.
whatever you want on top. And what I predominantly do is I put buttered chicken on top of my cheese curds. So it's like eating a curry with French fries and then just melted cheese.
I,
Yeah,
just
but
brain
there's no
explosion.
there's no
Buttered
gravy.
chicken.
Butter chicken
But
on French fries instead of rice or naan, and then cheese curds. It's like my happy place.
oh my God, I'm tempted to try that, but I think I might have one bite of it and keel over. Every time I do one of these interviews, we end up talking about food. So since we're on the topic, I mean, I know you're fanatical about coffee.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of things that you cannot do without drink-wise or
Ooh,
food-wise, what is it like the top three list?
ooh, coffee. I literally just got a Nescafe maker for my birthday, and I was sitting there crying in front of my family. That was the best birthday present I've ever gotten in my life.
Emotional much?
It was. I was. I was so happy. Any pageant girl who has seen me knows if I don't have a cappuccino or a latte or black coffee, I cannot function throughout that day because those are 23-hour days, 22-hour days, and you need your caffeine to function. So coffee would be one. Second would be this coconut curry shrimp that I learned how to make with sauteed greens. It's a very good
Wow.
comfort food. And then this is going to sound very cliche, but my granny's apple pie. I don't know what she does to that pie, but it is the most exquisite flaky crust I've ever had, and I can't eat it anymore because I'm celiac.
Mattea, we just lost your
Oh,
audio. Oh no, you're back.
we're
You're
back.
You're back. We just
We're
got
back.
you out for a sec. Don't know what happened there. What were you saying? You said you were celiac.
Yeah,
You are
so
celiac.
I am celiac, so I can't eat apple pie anymore because the crust is gluten. So my granny is trying to make an alteration to her recipe so I can still have her pie. Yeah.
That's difficult. I've done a lot of, shall we say, food experiments. I've been a raw foodist, so I've been on the
Ooh.
very, very extreme. And I have to say, one thing I've not been able to find is gluten-free alternatives not maybe to pastry, but definitely to pasta. It's never quite the same. So your grandmother might have her work cut out for her there.
She'll be fine. She'll be great.
She'll be able to-
She's like a superwoman. So I'm not surprised if she could figure it out pretty quickly.
Now, Chelsea has said, where I live in Canada, I was taught about rattlesnakes, scorpions,
Yes.
and black widows. My region in BC is home to all three.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds like Australia. Everything's trying to kill you. She's also said maple syrup is delicious. Poutine is an acquired taste.
It is. It definitely is. I
It is.
completely agree with you, Chelsea.
What does maple syrup go on, by the way?
So I actually tapped our maple tree as a kid. So I actually made my own maple syrup with my family. I am one of those Canadians. It is a problem. But predominantly you can put it on pancakes, waffles. You can even dip your bacon in it. It's really nice.
This is the one that I've heard and I don't understand. The bacon in maple syrup.
It's a thing. I put maple syrup in my tea or my coffee as a sweetener if I don't want to use sugar, white refined sugar. Just because it's a lot.
That makes sense. It'd be healthier.
You can also use it as a substitute for baking sometimes. You can put it over fruit, put your fruit in the fridge, and it'll create like a really nice, I guess, fruity, mapley syrup. And then I'll have that with some ice cream, or I'll just literally go outside and pour maple syrup in the snow and roll it up, and it's like toffee. That's really fun as a kid to do. Yeah. Don't
you end up eating all the snow as well then?
Yeah, but it's clean snow.
Oh, dear me. I'm not sure how good I am with eating snow, but I guess if you know where it's been, it's all right.
It tastes like maple syrup. You're fine.
Okay, I'm assuming you're not on the side of the road and just
no.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Okay, it's free-range organic snow. Stephanie, you have the most epic name, Ferrell.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know how to pronounce that. Stephanie, where are you from? You're not from Canada, are you? I thought you were from the UK somewhere. Same, I have to have my caffeine.
Ooh.
You're not alone. You're not alone there. Well, Mattea, that was a random way to start. I don't know how we got onto that track, but why don't we bring it round to pageantry?
Perfect.
This is a pageant interview after all. Can you give the ladies and gentlemen watching an idea as to your pageant history? So what got you started in the first place, and then all the different ones that you've been a part of?
I didn't actually realize this until about 3 weeks ago. I've been in the industry for 10 years now as of last month, which is absurd to me because I don't know many girls who've been in that long. I originally started by walking into my agency at the time, and my agent, imagine, have you seen The Incredibles with like little Edna? Okay, imagine that woman, but with like bleach blonde hair. That was my agent, and she was my angel, my mentor. She runs across the room and she goes, "Oh my gosh, you look like a Miss Universe." And I'm going, "Hi, I'm Mattea. Nice to meet you." I had no makeup, hair just like this, black t-shirt and dark wash jeans and flats with my mom. And she goes, "You should really consider entering our regional competition. It's Miss Teen Calgary. We don't do swimsuit. It's very much interview based. Just give it a go. It'll look good on a modeling application when you go overseas, so the agents can understand you have a good moral integrity and you're not going to do something stupid to jeopardize your contract." So I thought, why not? Let's do it. And I showed up my first day in, I think it was like gray sweatpants, because I had been scrubbing toilets all morning because we were selling our house. And I walked in and all these girls were dressed like this. And I'm going, why am I here? Why am I doing this? It's such a bad idea. And I ended up winning. So the next year I crowned my little sister, actually. So we won back to back, which was an amazing opportunity. A couple years later, I did Michelle Wiswaldy's Miss Teenage Canada, and I made top 20. My roommate actually won, but she decided not to compete internationally, and I was asked to go in her place. So I went to Miss Teen Universe 2014, and I was first runner-up for Canada, and I also won Best in Gown. And then I aged out of the teen category. Like, playing this back in my head, I'm going, this is so many experiences.
I'm impressed you can remember it all.
I feel like I've had this interview question several times, so it's kind of like second nature. But I ended up going down to America. I competed in International Junior Miss in 2016, which was an amazing organization. I cannot speak more highly of the quality of production as well as the organizers. I was top 15 there. And then I came back home and I did Miss World Canada in 2017, was second runner-up, won the social media award, and was crowned Miss Intercontinental Canada. So I went to Miss Intercontinental in Egypt the following January. And then I decided to do Miss Universe Canada. I didn't place. And I walked off stage and I'm like, everything happens for a reason. I don't know why this happened. I've never not placed. What just happened? But I'm okay. And five days later, I did Miss Earth Canada and I won. And then I was off to the Philippines 3 weeks later for 5 weeks with You Are Beautiful, Susanna, who I think she just passed on her title to the new Miss Earth Australia last week.
Yes, Brittany Dixon. Yep.
She looks incredible. Oh my goodness. I'm excited to see what she does.
I think, yeah, there are a lot of people who are excited to see how she does. And I know that she's been competing. I just looked at this last night. Actually, she competed in the same system, Miss Earth Australia, for 6 years. Because I think the first time I saw her was 2014. So she's definitely had her eyes set on that system. But if we back up for just a second. So, for example, in Australia, we used to have what was called a power pageant. And the winners of that had 3 titles, basically. So there was Australia's Teen Queen, there was Global, there was Intercontinental. Now, in the UK, they had something similar, but the titles were different. I believe one of them was Grand, one of them was maybe Intercontinental. So in Canada, in terms of the major systems, could you mention that you competed in Miss World and then won the, which one was it, the Intercontinental title? So can you just summarize how the different competitions lead to the different systems?
Okay, so things have been a little bit chaotic in the last year, especially with my acquisition of my franchise to a new director. So to give your audience a most recent update, I think that would be make the most sense.
Yeah.
One organization, so Miss Universe Canada, will send girls to Miss Universe and Miss International. And then sometimes Miss Eco International, but those are predominantly via Miss Universe Canada. Miss World Canada is setting a precedent this year, which is really exciting, and they're going to be crowning Miss World Canada, Supranational, Intercontinental, Grand, and Earth, all on November 7th.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a lot of title power from one competition.
The thing that I personally love is the owner, Michelle Wiswaldi, who I've been working with since 2013, was actually Miss Earth Canada, Miss Intercontinental Canada, and Miss World Canada. So she's been around the block, and it's amazing to have a director that knows the different systems and chooses the girl who best represents that system, in my opinion. She's very good at working that out in her head. So she'll be crowning 5 girls. She literally just crowned her Miss Teenage Canada as well, but that's a whole separate pageant.
Yeah.
And then today, just with how Miss Earth is virtual this year, they're virtually crowning my successor on September 14th, I believe. Yeah.
So in 3 days' time, 4 days, 3 days' time.
Yeah. So contestants were actually just announced 4 hours ago in Canada. So I got some frantic phone calls from girls checking in to go, what is happening? And I'm going, I don't know. Yeah.
But to give people an idea, your franchise, as in Miss Earth, has changed hands during your reign. So when you won last year, the franchise Miss Earth was owned by one person.
Yes.
And then during your reign, it has actually switched over to another person, which is not unheard of, but it is unusual. So how have you been dealing with that? I know you did a YouTube video about it all live. So how has that sort of shaken things up?
Ironically enough, my mantra for 2020 is uncomfortable is the new comfortable. I feel like that's very fitting.
Did you pick that before we got Corona?
I picked that second week of January.
I keep telling people, I said 2020, I wanted to be different. And I keep saying now I wasn't specific enough when I said I wanted it to be different.
You have to manifest what you want, and saying different is not specific enough. But
I
also,
learned my lesson.
Uncomfortable is not the right word to use either. So to kind of go back, I was originally under Harlick Productions, which is now called Miss Queen Canada, as they do send several women internationally. I believe they have 5 girls that they send internationally per year to different organizations, not the Grand Slam pageants, but very good industry pageants. So I literally woke up to about 6 text messages going, what is going on? And I'm going, well, I've just woken up, so I need my coffee, as I always do. And so my roommate from Miss Teenage Canada, who actually one calls me and goes, do you know your directorship's changed? I don't know what this means for you. Figure it out. And I'm going, okay. So I kind of went through and I looked. I'm like, okay, here's the official announcement from MTCW Inc., which is the organization that holds all these major titles. Here's a quick message from my old director. And I'm going, okay, I have a very good relationship in my mind with the current director because she was my director as a teen and for Miss Intercontinental. And about 5 hours later, she reached out. She goes, hey, Mattea, I know this is insane. Don't worry. If you have any questions, call me. Do what you have to do. You're such a good title holder. So I had some long talks with myself where I went, what do I want to do with the rest of my year? How do I do this? And who do I kind of fall under? So I contacted both of my directors and said, look, this is what I continue to do. Are you both on board with this, having relationships with me until 2020 when I crown my successor? Because I do owe gratitude to the people who chose me to be Canadian, or the Canadian representative at Miss Earth. But I also feel that I have a strong relationship with MTCW Inc. because I was a teen with them. I was Miss Intercontinental Canada. I have good relationships, but I also want the title to be passed on in a seamless way so the next girl doesn't have this crazy transition. But now with COVID, it's a whole other ballgame. So it's been a crazy year. I was lucky that I had good relationships with both directors and they were open to it. So I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah, so it could have been potentially could have been a much trickier situation than it actually ended up being. So that's good to hear. Now, just to bring you up to date with the comments, Stephanie here has said, same, I have to have my caffeine.
Yeah.
She loves maple syrup on pancakes, and it's midnight here in the UK. Yes, it is.
Jeez.
Why are you up? It's now midnight, Stephanie. Chelsea has said Canadian pageant queen and goals.
Oh,
so there you go.
That's going to make me cry. It's been such an emotional day. I know Jasmine.
You won't be the first person who's cried on an interview.
I would sit there and cry. Jasmine, I believe Jasmine's actually competing for Miss Earth Canada right now. That's exciting. And I know she's competing for Miss World Canada. And I think someone was saying it's 53 days. Yeah, so we're close.
All right. And Stephanie here said, Miss Earth is a fantastic system. I think you'd be great as a Miss World.
Oh.
You did give us, obviously, you said 10 years. My podcast co-host, Danielle Latimer, has also been involved in pageantry for 10 years. It's a very long time. So I feel like I should ask, what are the plans after this? Are there any, one step at a time, or are there any concrete plans at the moment?
I feel like pageantry has really put me in a position to do what I do. And that sounds very, very broad and vague, but when I came home from Miss Earth, I could not get a job in Canada. I just graduated. No one was hiring with the economy. So I ended up launching my own company. So I specialize in digital content marketing strategy, as well as marketing services for small to medium businesses, specifically focusing on women in business and community. So that's one thing I do. And then I do marketing consulting, and then I also do mentoring for girls. It's just kind of on a friendship basis, but when I retire, I'd love to continue somehow in the industry. I just don't know how yet, but I feel that there's such a conflict of interest with holding a title, with competing, and then coaching at the same time. I feel that's not fair to girls. So that's something I've been very adamant on, is I will not coach until I retire, because I would never want to put someone in a conflict of interest or a compromised situation, especially within the Canadian industry, because it is so small.
I mean, you bring up two things that I wanted to ask you. One is about the Canadian industry and the size of it, but the ethics of coaching, given what you just said, it's not a decision that you seem to have taken lightly, because obviously, at least the way I've seen it, if you're a title holder, then you are automatically in demand as a coach, and you've made that decision to deliberately not do it. So and there are a lot of people who do, and that's their decision as well, meaning a lot of title holders who do coach. What specifically made you go, okay, if I'm a title holder, I am not going to coach?
For me, what it comes down to is no matter what organization you're with, whether it's Universe, World, Intercontinental, Earth, a teen pageant, Galaxy, IJM, I can go on. In my mind, when you are a national title holder, at the level of which I have had 2 national titles and then a team title, I feel that it's my obligation to fulfill that role to that organization, to fulfill the brand needs, the organizational requirements, to present myself the best way possible as a Canadian ambassador. And I couldn't do that if I was worrying about other girls' performances, other girls' social media, how they come across in an interview. But I also don't want to step on people's toes and skew who they want to be when they see me having a title, because so many girls say imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, especially in pageantry, because everyone tries to style themselves the same and walk the same and speak the same. They're not looking for the same girl. They're looking for the best representation of that brand. And if you're making girls the same way you present yourself, one, that's competition in your own industry if you want to compete again. 2, they should never try to be you, because you're always going to be the best version of yourself and they can't do that. And 3, it's a job. It's not just a crown and sash. And we hear that so much, but it's really about fulfilling that term, that contract, those obligations to set the girl up for the next successful year, in my opinion. So as much as I'd love to coach girls, and I do give girls all the advice I can, and I say I am an open book, I will not coach girls until I retire.
And I think that makes a lot of sense. I have heard of coaches, speaking to your point, who pretty much, I guess, cookie cutter approach. It's every girl, they want them to say the same. They'll basically bring them in and say this in an interview, wear this, do that. And the idea is almost that it's like a production line, that everyone will come out the same. With your pageant experience, how have you differed from that? So obviously, you don't advocate for the cookie cutter approach. You advocate for much more being yourself and making it your own. Was it harder for you to do that rather than just take sort of people's advice and say, you should speak like this, you should wear that makeup, you should wear this?
It's tricky because you want to listen to experts in the industry. You want to do your research. So when I compete, I listen to every pageant podcast. I listen to past Q&As, no matter what the organization, because those are fair questions that are relevant within some type of context. But for me, my agent and my mentor, who passed actually when I was at an event as Miss Canada, she always told me, Mattea, never compromise your morals, values, or integrity to belittle another woman or to get ahead in life. And that really, really stuck with me, because being a woman in business, I see women step on each other on a regular basis. And if you have 60 women in a room together at a national competition, you can bet things are going to get competitive and catty. Women are so competitive in a quiet, sneaky way.
It's different to the men.
It's very different. But I went, if I ever were to win a title, I'd never want to do it not being myself, because then it wouldn't be authentic. It wouldn't be real. And I wouldn't be a realistic role model, because so many girls go, Mattea, you're so real. Why are you so nice? And I'm going, well, why would I be anything but how I would want to be treated? And if you're an ambassador for your country at this point, you're putting that first impression, if someone hasn't met a Canadian, to go, oh, this is Mattea, she's Miss Canada, this is what Canadians must be like. And there's a lot of pressure on that to go, you need to say the right thing and you need to do the right thing, but you also need to know who you are deep down inside to authentically give those answers confidently and go, look, you may not agree with my opinion, but this is the way I've been conditioned in my society, in my culture, to be able to produce the quality of work I do, whether that's representing myself, my country, or something as simple as putting out a social media post. Because if you don't have the integrity to do that, people aren't going to relate to you, and they're going to call you out for it. And there will be social media lashback. But it also hurts your heart. That's the biggest thing. If you're not you, it just hurts you in the long run.
I mean, given what you just said, I tend to think that someone who has such a sort of well thought out reason for why she's doing things the way she's doing it, I always think there's a reason buried in the childhood or the upbringing.
Yeah.
So how did you get to be the person that you are now? Because I mean, there's a lot of people who similar age, maybe similar pageant experience, but have a very different way of portraying themselves, whether you want to call it fake or shallow or trying to be famous rather than having the integrity. So how did you get to that realization or that self-awareness that integrity and being yourself was such an important part of who you wanted to be?
So my parents actually moved me across our country at 13, and that is the most awkward age you can transfer schools. That is the starting point. I moved from a dual track school, which is French and English, just outside of Toronto. We had the same 20 kids for 8 years, to moving to the middle of Calgary, where I had 13 classes of 30 kids just in my grade. And I was the new girl from Toronto. And I grew up in a group of individuals where we didn't gossip, we didn't bully. It was very much like you defined a person based on their characteristics of quality and integrity. So it was always like, so-and-so's the smartest, so-and-so's the best basketball player. Mattea can't do math, but she makes everyone laugh because she knows she can't do math or something. It was very genuine. And I'm so grateful I had that childhood. But moving into a large school, I was kind of the striped puppy in a litter of spotted puppies because I didn't fit in. And I was so bullied through junior high and high school. You name it, it happened. And it sucked. And I went to therapist after therapist in high school and university, and they would go, there's nothing wrong with you. And I'm going, okay, well, there's a pattern. What's wrong? And they said, you don't fit in because you hold your ground on who you are. You may not stand up to that person, but you're not going to be mean and make them feel less than. So for me, having that conditioning, I call it, an experience rather than being bullied, I look at it as, I guess, a strength test for character to go, did I bend my morals? Did I bend my will to make someone feel worse than me because they made me feel bad? No. I continue to preach, and I will say this to every girl in Canada and every person I meet. It takes courage to be kind, not only to yourself, but to others, because kindness is free, but it's the most priceless thing you can offer people because it touches them in a way that you can't explain. But they'll carry that with them no matter what that first engagement is. If you open a door for someone, if you offer to buy someone coffee, those little things make people smile. And having people smile is the best paying it forward system because they will do something nice in return for someone else. And there's nothing that they expect back.
It's one thing to open a door for someone. It's one thing, it's a different thing in my mind to show kindness to someone who's bullying you. I mean, it doesn't sound like you had a great time in school when, which a lot of people do not. I did not like high school myself. When did things sort of turn around for you and become more enjoyable?
You know what? Here's the thing, girls are girls, and that's not an excuse, but women talk and women can get in their heads. But I made a conscious decision when I was about 22, turning 23, when I was handing over my Miss Intercontinental title. I'd just come back from Egypt, and I looked at my parents and I went, I want to do something impactful with this title, because so many title holders, they win their national title, and then what? And we see it time and time again. And I promised myself I would do something meaningful. So one of my sponsors told me I did 74 events in 3 months. And I didn't realize I did that, but apparently
that's one a day.
But I ended up having to defer a semester of university because my classes weren't available. So I competed internationally. And I said, if I'm going to take a semester off school, because education is so important to me, I want to make the most of it. And I remember I was at Miss Maritimes, which is our eastern provinces, all on the seaboard. And I had the worst clinical migraine, and I was about to do interview with the girls. And I walked up to 3 women. I said, do you know where I can get a cup of coffee? My head's killing me. And they just didn't acknowledge me. And I reverted back to that high school mindset of, oh my gosh, what did I do? I offended someone. I said something wrong. They don't like me. And I went, no, it's okay. Everything happens for a reason. Just keep walking. So I went back about an hour later and I asked them, oh, we didn't know we were allowed to talk to you because you have a national title. And it was kind of at that moment where I went, okay, how do I change this mindset in Canada to go, no matter what hierarchy you're at with a national, provincial, regional, city title, to go, you're still a person. I'm still normal. I will still trip over my feet. I will still be a horrible person in the morning if I don't have a cup of coffee. I will answer my phone 90% of the time, no matter who's calling. But I'm going, how do I change that mentality of the women in pageantry in Canada, but also in a daily lifestyle, to go, she's just a person. Everyone is just a human being, and it doesn't take a lot to treat people with integrity or kindness. So that's really where that switch was, where I went, I don't have to be embarrassed about my experiences. I don't have to be embarrassed about who I am. It's just the path I'm supposed to take and how I influence people the right way.
Why did you think those girls thought that they couldn't speak to you? Where did they get that idea from? I mean, I've certainly heard
Yeah,
similar things, but that's fairly extreme.
it was the most, you know, when you just have a moment that really, really sticks with you and you go, this
Mm,
doesn't make sense, but there's a bigger purpose for why this happened.
yeah.
That was kind of that moment. And I know the girls personally now, and they are the sweetest women ever. But it was very uneasing to go, okay, well, what did I do to create this dynamic? And I may not have created this dynamic, but
Mm,
how can I change it for the better?
yeah. Yeah. And you also mentioned, I mean, you was it Miss Intercontinental
Yeah.
back when you were 22, 23. And I know that there are a few title holders in the UK that I know of who are about that age and have dealt with a lot of, let's say, the negative or toxic side of pageantry, whether it's gossip, whether it's people actively engaging against them, and sometimes even coaches.
Ooh.
Speaking again of coaching and playing favorites, if someone's going through that sort of journey and they feel like everyone's against them for no
Mm-hmm.
fault of their own, what advice would you give to someone like that?
I'd say just know who you are as a person deep down, because that integral part of you where you go, I know I'm kind, or I know I'm smart, or I know I'm great at playing violin or piano, those characteristics are what people see. It doesn't matter who's saying what about you. And the mentality I have, it's not the nicest, is if someone wants to speak about me, good or bad, great. They're wasting their time on me. They're talking about me. That means I've made an impression.
Mm,
It doesn't
you
mean
got
I
in
have
their head.
it doesn't mean I have to be the person who responds, whether it's good or bad. It doesn't mean I have to nurture that thing. But the second I give a reaction to that negativity, it grows the negativity. So instead, just ignore it and just know what your purpose is deep down, because that's what's going to carry you through it. If you continue to nurture that negativity, it will eat you from the inside out. And that is the worst thing you can do.
Mm, yeah, agreed. And I think a lot of us have struggled with that during 2020,
Mm,
especially. Mattea, how competitive are you? There's my
okay.
answer.
Do you want the truth or the lie?
I'm just curious because I think, and we can have a discussion, you can disagree with me on this.
Oh,
I
gosh.
think a lot of women in pageantry feel that they shouldn't say they're competitive. Like they say, I'm not in it to win. I just want everyone, I want to meet everyone, I want to have a good time. But I really think there's a lot of people
Okay.
who are highly competitive, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
No,
So
it's
talk to me
not.
about being competitive.
Okay, I am so competitive, it is stupid, and I can openly admit it. I like to be the best at whatever I do, and I like to exceed people's expectations because it's a, oh, I know I'm that good. Let me prove you wrong of why I'm that good, and you will eat your words. Yeah, I'm not nice about it. I know I'm not, and my mom can vouch for that. Um, I will always be kind to people, but I will think in my head, can I outdo you? Not intentionally, but it's like a thought process to go, I was a competitive athlete for forever. I have two extremely overachieving siblings. My sister just literally scored a 512 on her MCAT entrance exam, which is, I can't even fathom it, because she was doing her grad school program in business. She was part of two research projects, head of two societies, and working full time. My brother just finished a 3-year military contract, is now taking political science, and was asked to row for his university on the rowing team for the varsity team with no rowing experience. My parents bred competitiveness into us, not intentionally, but they told us, whatever you do, do it 110%. If you want to
Hmm.
be the best garbage man, do it. So for the girls in the Canadian industry, what I specifically tell them is, if you're telling yourself you don't want to win, why are you entering?
That's the question that I have
Yeah,
because I keep saying that no one goes in it to lose.
no.
So why can't we admit that we want to win? See, I don't
Mhm.
think that being kind and being competitive have to be mutually exclusive
No, they
necessarily.
don't. They don't. And I always tell the girls in Canada, if you're not in it to win it, you really need to think about why you're entering. And if you want to
Yeah.
just get your toes wet in the industry, like all the power to you. If there is like little things you want to do, great. So I always tell girls who call me and go like, how do I win this? Or how do I do this? I say, well, set many goals for yourself to win. If you can't walk downstairs in heels at your national competition or your regional competition, if you do that successfully, that's a win. If you nail your interview and you walk out of that interview and go, I killed it, that's a win. But if you don't set those goals for yourself, why are you competing? And you shouldn't compete with other women. You should compete with yourself.
Yeah.
That's the difference in my mind. And yes, I do like to win. It is a problem. Yeah, it's bad.
I don't know if it is a problem because there's this, I mean, this is a broader discussion, but I mean, given that you own your own business as well, it's very often seen with women that being competitive or being assertive is seen as a very negative thing compared to when a guy shows exactly the same traits. Have you
Exactly.
ever dealt with that sort of blowback when you're just being competitive or assertive and then someone calls you a nasty
Yeah.
word or speaks behind your back for it?
Yeah, so my degree is actually in marketing and international business, and the university I went to focuses on something called a capstone project, where we're actually positioned with multinational corporations, where we offer them marketing advice and we pitch to them. I was the head of my group. We pitched to the Olympic bid committee for Canada, for Calgary, for the next Olympics. And then I also did another corporation that was looking for global expansion with robotics. And my group put me in charge, and it got to a point where they didn't properly provide me with the right information for a client meeting I had. And I was upset. I'm going, I look like an idiot. I had prepared just in case this happened, but that's the pageantry in me to go. I always need to be ready for whatever comes my way. And I sat down in my meeting with my group, and they looked at me and they're like, Mattea, what's wrong? You look so sad. I'm like, I'm not sad, I'm upset. And they said, why are you upset? And then like, I need you to seriously think about that question and what the ramifications are and what I just had to do for the last hour. And all the guys go, why is she being so moody? The girls went, why are you being so sad? And I said, it doesn't matter what I'm feeling. The fact is you put me in an unprofessional situation that shouldn't have been that way. The next time any of you put me in this position, I will put you on the call with this client and have them explain why you're on the call. But on top of that, you're legally not allowed to talk to this client, and you will explain why you're in breach of contract to our board of ethics for our university, as well as to the business person, and you will apologize to the CEO of that company for wasting their time. And it was in that moment they went, oh, she is in charge, not she's being emotional.
There's a TikTok audio that goes, it was at that moment that he knew he'd screwed up. I think that probably is appropriate to what you just said. But nothing drives me crazier than when a woman is being assertive, being herself, and someone describes it as being moody. That is the stupidest, most idiotic thing. It's such a complete misread of the situation. Even if it is true, it's not the point. And I mean, as I said, you go into business, I've been in business a long time myself. And this idea that when a woman is asserting herself or when she's upset, not sad, but she's angry that something hasn't been handled properly, that, she's moody, or it must be her time of the month, or she just needs to chill out.
Oh, that's the line. That was the line. They're like, do you need to go for a walk for coffee? And I said, no, I needed you to properly prepare my notes for this meeting, which I did just in case to cover you. But yeah, I'd love a cup of coffee. You can go get me one. It was not a good moment. I was so mad. Oh.
How tall are you?
5'7.5". I'm tiny. Like in pageant standards, I'm tiny. In real life standards, I'm normal.
I was going to say, but at that point in time, you probably came across as about 7 foot tall.
I hope so.
Was it fun? Was it a little bit fun to put them in their place?
I was really upset because the purpose of what the client was doing was so impressive. And I knew that my group may not be able to prepare me the way I know that I can prepare myself, but I'm going, this is a team exercise. Just like pageantry, in my opinion, pageantry is a team exercise. But I made sure that their reputations weren't damaged. I looked a little ignorant in that moment, and I apologized. And I can fess up and go, look, I'm sorry, this was mishandled. I will address it, because they don't need to do that. I never want to put someone in their place because that's not my purpose. But if I can make them have a situation to educate themselves, to go, you know what, it's a good thing this is university and this isn't a real world, or else I'd be fired. And to have that in a safe environment, I'd rather do that than being the person to fire someone.
It's interesting to me that, because you brought up the idea of team and, teamwork in universities and in sport. I know that you've played soccer.
Yeah.
But this is the reason why I pick individual sports. See, I play tennis. I used to play soccer, and now I play tennis because when I walk on the court, what I love is, first off, there's no draw. It is win or lose. Let's get that. And you're out there as long as it takes. But the other thing is, if you lose, you have no one to blame but yourself.
100%.
And I find that very, I don't know, I find that very almost relaxing. I don't think that's the right word, but to know that it's all on me.
It's like
and
therapeutic.
Yeah. Whereas team sports, the issue I always had with it, and teamwork in universities, I was always the one covering everyone else just in case they couldn't do it, because experience had taught me someone won't be able to do it. And I don't know if you felt the same thing, but this is why I've gravitated towards things that are more individualistic and relying on myself and going into business for myself, because I prefer to rely on myself and know that if something goes wrong, it's me. Whereas I found it very difficult to rely on other people.
I think it comes down to that whole balancing act. As much as I would love to say I'm an individual competitor, I know my quality of work. I know I can perform, but if I'm put in an environment where I have to be on a team, I think it teaches you so much more of what you can add to the team and really allow individuals' weaknesses to be covered by your strengths and vice versa. That's really what I got out of sport growing up.
Yeah.
And especially with university, I'm going, it's university. You have to get the grade. And if someone doesn't do the work, that's not my problem. They can explain it to the professor. But if it impacts my grade, I have no issues.
That's what happened.
I have no issues sitting down with a professor and going, look, here's my quality of work. Here's my portion of the assignment. Please grade it based on a percentage weight of what I accomplished for the total amount of the project. That's what I was allowed to do at my university. So I was very lucky with that because it was a small university in Canada.
You're probably also lucky that the person that you were studying under actually was receptive to that, because I had the exact same in my final year. There was a group project and I did all the work, and I wasn't going to do the other person's work because I wasn't able to. I wasn't going to do that.
Yeah.
So I managed to get a better mark than he did, my partner, in a team project. But anyway, I think it's fascinating talking about being competitive within pageantry and just in business in general. Because as I said, I think it's given a bad name for women.
Oh, it absolutely
Still
is.
In general versus men. Like if a man's competitive, it's great.
It's great. He's
if
a
woman's
leader in
competitive,
industry.
Yeah. And
if a woman's competitive, it's, do I really want to do business with her? Like, she'll be difficult. That's the word that a lot of people connotate with competitiveness.
That drives me crazy. Anyway, some of the comments here. Amber said it was 53 days, 23 hours ago for me in the Netherlands, so almost 52 days. That was one of the pageants that's coming up. I can't remember which one. Ariana, who's over in the UK, one of my former interviewees, so true. Women should be able to be boss babes and competitive too. Yeah, absolutely. I do think it's turning around. It's still the prevailing, I think, is being competitive and being a woman, being feminine don't go together.
Yeah.
That drives me crazy. And Edward has said it's a live pageant interview. Mattea, we've talked about your career. We've talked about a lot of things. In terms of hobbies, or to relax, if you ever do that, aside from rolling maple syrup in snow,
always,
what do you do, and making coffee? I'm getting very emotional about it. What do you do in your downtime just to relax?
Oh my gosh, I feel like relax is going to be the word that I need after the next week of Miss Earth Canada activities. I love running. I love going for a run. It is so therapeutic for me. I will literally download 2 or 3 podcasts and I will just run, because it gets me out of my comfort zone. It physically pushes me. It psychologically pushes me. But it's also my time to be alone in my own sport, to go, I know my quality. Let me see what I can achieve on my own without there being judgment. And I think that's a
Yeah.
big part of it. It's a space where people can't judge me. It's a space where I can be totally isolated. And it's just so relaxing when you come back from a good run and you're going, okay, I feel accomplished for some little thing. That's a big thing. Also, organizing things. I love organization. If you asked me, like, my favorite thing to do, it's to reorganize my closet. It is so therapeutic. It gives me absolute control over one thing in my life, which is so weird. I know cleaning de-stresses me. Yeah, I'm odd. It's fine. I've come to terms with it.
That would make you the perfect daughter or the perfect girlfriend, someone who likes to clean.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people who would be happy with that.
No, I think it's really taking the time for me just to like take a moment to breathe, whether it's like watching a Netflix series or watching a movie or sitting down with my dog and just letting my dog be an absolute goofball, or having a cup of tea with my mom, or going for a walk with my boyfriend. It's the really simple things that people take for granted are my favorite things to do, because that's where you find normalcy. Because everything else that I do in my life is not normal. And the time that I spend with myself running or with my family is the most normal thing I can do.
Do you find it difficult? Like, do you feel like you have to schedule that time into your schedule?
Do you see that giant pink book?
Oh,
Like,
that one. Yes.
That's my
Yeah.
day planner. I schedule everything. It's really bad. Yeah.
I'm impressed you actually use a paper, like a hardback one. I would have thought you'd been all digital.
Nope. Paper planner. My planner is actually from Australia. I order my day planner from Australia.
Why?
It is such good quality. If you want an amazing businesswoman from Australia to ever interview that is not pageant related, the company is called Emma Kate Co. And she literally custom designs day planners for women who are busy. And it gives them the space to organize their life exactly the way they need to. So she has a daily planner, a weekly planner. I do the daily because I've got so much going on, but it is so therapeutic to write down my goals for the day, my New Year's resolutions that I still continue to do, because if I do not knock them off my list, I feel like I'm not productive. Yeah, I'm that person. So yes, I do have a paper planner.
I think I knew the answer to it before I asked. What, God forbid, what would happen to you if you lost that, though?
Do you see the black one on the edge?
Yeah.
I have a backup for daily planning too. Yeah, I'm a little odd, but it's fine. It keeps me going.
Dear me. Okay. That's amazing. All right. So those are the hobbies. Now we always wrap up interviews with the same 10 questions. But before we get to the final 10, shout outs, thank yous to anyone for supporting you along your journey, not just in pageantry, but in life as well.
I definitely say family and friends. My family and the boyfriend are my rocks through and through. They literally dealt with my meltdown literally this morning, going, what's going on with my life? My incredible team, Mattea, and they know who they are. I don't disclose who they are because they are such incredible individuals and everyone would want to steal them. I also have them sign non-compete clauses just in case. So that's a thing. No, I think it just comes down to any individual that chooses to be kind and like to make an effort with any person. Kudos to you, because that's the most important thing you can do. And that's really what I look for in people that I surround myself with.
What happened with the meltdown this morning?
Oh, I didn't know the contestants were being released for Miss Earth Canada. And so I'm sitting there crying, going, I know all these people. They're such great people. And I was just so happy, because to know that my title will go to someone who can really make an influence and an impact on the Canadian industry, but also bring back that, I guess, prestige to being Miss Earth Canada after the past few years. I'm very excited for her opportunity at Miss Earth. So I was just sitting there crying, so happy that they're great girls.
Do you cry very often? I mean,
no,
it's just... there. You said you cried about the coffee machine.
Okay, the coffee machine is a custom Nespresso. It is something worth crying over, but I don't cry. I think my boyfriend's seen me cry 3 times in our entire relationship. I didn't cry when I was born. I didn't cry when I broke my arm. I didn't cry when I broke my shoulder. I don't cry. But when I get really happy about something that's going to be extraordinary, I cry. That's when I cry. Not when I'm sad or when I'm hurt. I cry when I'm happy. It's weird. Yeah, it's fine.
You do things in your own way.
I do.
Let's put it that way.
It works.
And yeah, that's all that you need. It's something that works for you. You got to find out what works for you, uniquely you. Okay. All right. Well, the final 10. This is not a speed round, just to clarify. You don't need to go through it as quickly as you can, but if you want to, because you're competitive, feel free.
Deal.
Question 1. What is your favorite word?
Ooh, gratitude. It is such an important thing in my life. Like, you can't give without receiving or receive without giving. And I think everything comes into your life for a specific reason, no matter how adverse it is or how difficult or amazing. It's there to teach you a lesson, and you need to be grateful that you have the opportunity to do that.
What is your least favorite word?
Can't. That's not a word that exists. You can do something. You might fail, but you can't not do it. You're still gonna do it at some point, especially if you're competitive.
I like how you actually look slightly angry even when you say the word. I say can't, you say can't.
Yeah, I say can't.
You literally look like you're getting angry even talking about that word.
Yeah, my sister says that too.
Okay. Question 3. In life, what gets you excited or what turns you on?
Ooh. Success, drive, and passion. I think those are such important things that people lose focus of. I find so many people, and I hate saying this, but so many people settle with mediocrity where they're happy, but they're not pushing themselves to do more. Yeah.
What turns you off?
The choice to be stupid. That doesn't make a lot of sense.
It does, but I'll let you explain what you mean by it.
There's so many individuals that I find don't choose to be open-minded on things, and that's their choice. But when you've consciously educated someone on something and they consciously decide to ignore you, whether they choose to agree with you or disagree with you, ignorance is a choice to be stupid, in my opinion. And I don't need to be around that. People don't need to be around that.
It's interesting. It's fascinating to me you bring that up because I've had a lot of experience with that recently, just in 2020, and I completely agree with you. I mean, you try and explain things as best you can if someone's willing to listen, and then at the end of that, if they choose to still be ignorant to it, well, that's
a choice of stupidity.
Yeah, which I don't understand why you would make that choice. But anyway, question 5. What sound or noise do you love?
Okay. I live just on the prairies, just about on the prairies of Canada. So the sound of wind going through grass is extremely therapeutic to me because it looks like water's on the grass. It moves like water. It's really cool. So I'll sit outside on my porch with my coffee and I'll watch the wind go over the grass and it looks like water. But there's like a specific sound because I live in an ancient riverbed. It's a thing. It's a thing from the glacier melt, Rocky Mountains. Yeah. It's a Canadian thing, I'm going to say. But it is the most sweet sound ever. But it's super strong.
Is it kind of like a rustling sound?
Sort of.
Right.
It's just we have really strong breezes.
Right. Okay. What sound or noise do you hate?
Ooh, nails on a chalkboard. The sound of someone walking on like rough cement with their feet. It's a specific sound, but it sounds like it's just not pleasant. It makes my skin crawl. I'm just going to leave it at that. It's really specific, I know, but it's a pet peeve.
I feel like I need to Google that, look that up after we get off this interview to find out exactly what it sounds like, because I can't. Nails down the chalkboard, I understand, but feet on concrete is something
it's like
different.
When people have like really rough soles with their feet and they're walking on like rough concrete, it's It's like, it feels like, it sounds like sandpaper. It's just, oh, it gets me. I really hope you're entertained by this interview.
I'm telling you, I am. I definitely have to look that up because I don't quite understand it. So now I'm fascinated by it. Let's move on so you don't need to talk about it anymore.
Thank you.
Question 7. If you could have any one superpower, what would you pick and why?
Invisibility. I always wanted to be invisible as a kid. And I was invisible at one point, like just with a social life and pageantry. But I think ever since winning Canadian titles and being on social media, you never get that privacy back. So to be invisible, I think, would be a blessing in disguise. But I'm also the girl who just deleted like 7,000 people off her Instagram. So I'm getting that invisibility back. Yeah.
You deleted 7,000 people.
Yeah.
One at a time.
Yeah. I went through my followers and started deleting people. I started working with an organization that promotes educating people on the prevention of trafficking of human beings, whether it's sexually or for other reasons. A lot of people don't actually realize Canada's the second highest country for human trafficking through social media, which is a huge statistic. The average kid who's trafficked in Canada is 12. The average Indigenous child, whether it's Métis, First Nations, or Inuit, is 8. So I made the conscious decision, if I was going to be working with this organization and having young women and influential individuals and people who could be influenced on my social media interacting, I needed to make sure it was a safe, inclusive space where they couldn't be targeted, but I also could be aware of the people on my account, so I wasn't endangering someone. So yeah, I'm still working on it. I'm slowly going through the rest, but I dropped from 16,000 to 9,000 in the span of like 2 weeks.
Oh, so I've gone through and weeded people out before, but in the hundreds, and that took long enough. Halfway through, I wanted to just end everything. I can't imagine what it's like to get rid of 7,000.
Yeah.
Why on earth? I did not know that fact about the trafficking. Why on earth is Canada so high up?
Honestly, I wish I could tell you. There's not a lot of government protection when it comes to human trafficking in Canada. I think it's also a country people don't expect for human trafficking, but it's also a place where so many people immigrate to and migrate to. And our 3 biggest hubs are Vancouver, Montreal, and Toronto, and they're international hubs. They're not small places. But there was government funding put in place. I think it was $58 million and then $10 million per year after 2019, 2020 to implement programs to educate children on this, as well as individuals in specific communities. So it's something I'm really curious on because I've been in several situations I shouldn't have been put in, but because of my parents, thank goodness for them, they really told me to listen to my intuition and to listen to my gut, and I was able to maneuver myself out of situations I shouldn't have been in to begin with. And it was genuinely places I would have never expected, with people I would have never thought. And I was grateful that I knew how to mitigate that situation to get out of that risk. But it's something that people don't talk about. People talk about mental illness. People talk about natural disasters. But no one talks about human trafficking because it's too taboo. And so many people don't know how to address it.
I actually launched a book a couple of years ago, and the organization that I partnered with actually dealt with human sex trafficking, specifically in Southeast Asia.
Jeez.
And they went as far as sending in undercover operatives to pose as people who were buying children to get them out, and not only got them out, but then gave them an occupation and gave them the education so that they wouldn't go back into it. Because very often they go into it, if they have a choice in the first place, because they may not, they go into it because there's money there. And then if you bring them out, that's great, but they don't have a way of making money, so they go back.
And they're back on. Yeah, it's a really tricky conversation. It's something that I'm curious about. And especially being a woman who travels alone, and you're on a flight for 22 hours, you're in a country that you don't speak the language.
Yeah.
Even when I went to Miss Earth, even when I went to Miss Intercontinental, and when I went to Team Universe, I was hyper aware of my surroundings because I knew I am a white woman in another country, and that can be stereotyped as privilege when it comes to financial means.
Yeah.
And I'm going, I don't want to be ignorant to my environment, but I also need to know what social injustices are going on. I also need to know what government stability is, what the infrastructure is politically, where my exit strategy is. But that's because my parents taught me that. If you asked me, if I went into a restaurant, I could tell you my 3 exits within 10 minutes. But that's just because as a woman, we're also taught to be fearful. And instead of being fearful, I choose to educate myself on my environment.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a choice. It's a conscious choice.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's an intelligent choice. And I think it's unfortunately a choice that needs to be made in the current society that we're in. Hopefully one day people don't need to make a choice like that. Question 8. What job or occupation other than your own would you most like to attempt?
Ooh. I've never been asked this, like ever. Someone told me I'd make a really good politician. I would love to be like a leader of a country. I think that would be super cool. I don't know if it would go well for the other politicians, but
Why not? Why not?
it's not that I'm not afraid to stand my ground, but if someone's going to say something that's out of line, I have no issue putting them back in line.
That's as it should be.
Politicians. I think it's something they should learn to do.
Yeah. Politicians have come into the limelight a lot recently, and young people are a lot more interested in politics now than they were before, and I think that's a very, very good thing. And we do need more female representation in politics in general. I actually think Canada might be leading the way in that.
I know Justin Trudeau put in policy that there has to be some type of minority-driven agenda when it comes to like our House of Commons, when it comes to his group of individuals. But and this is going to be my little spiel, and you will laugh at me probably. I don't think men and women are equal. I think men and women are given different strengths and weaknesses based on our characteristics, and I think there should be equal opportunity. But then your strengths and weaknesses determine the person best suited for that job, whether it's a man or a woman or, I don't know, like a purple elephant. If there's someone best suited for that, they should have the position.
You're looking at, is there a purple elephant somewhere in your room that just popped in your head or something?
No.
Very random.
Exactly, but that's kind of the whole message is it doesn't matter who that random individual is, as long as they're the best candidate for that job, whether it's a doctor, a lawyer, a garbage man, a plumber, a politician, it should be the best person for the job, not for the person that society deems to best fit the agenda.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree with you. This is a subject that I've looked a lot into, and the idea of equality of opportunity is very important, but it's different to equality of outcome. So equality of outcome is politicians are 50% male, 50% female. I don't agree with that at all.
Nope.
But equality of opportunity,
100%.
I absolutely agree with. And I think people need to understand the difference between those two.
It's a huge difference. If everyone was equal, well, that would be pretty boring in my opinion. But I think it's also those differences that make us such strong people in our industries.
Absolutely, yeah. Question 9, what job or occupation other than your own would you definitely not like to attempt?
Oh my gosh, I would not be a good doctor. I would be the worst doctor possible.
Because?
My mom and my granny say when we get hurt, you'll live, but you won't live like much. I've also
Why?
If you're that kid who scrapes his knee or like breaks an arm or a leg, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine. Just don't complain after the fact it's happened. Get over it. Get up and keep moving. My mom's line is, "Well, just do it. Get over it. Figure it out." But my mom's a very strong woman. So when I broke my shoulder as a kid, it was on Mother's Day. And she sat me downstairs with a bag of peas watching Disney movies at 6 years old. And we went to school the next day. And I'm like trying to like lift my arm on the chair. And she goes, "Oh, maybe she did break her arm."
Mm.
I would
You
not be
see,
I wouldn't be a sympathetic doctor. I'd be like, "Oh, you scraped
you
your leg? Great. Put a band-aid on it."
you say that you wouldn't make a good doctor, but my mum sounds very similar to your mum. Very strong woman, and she is a doctor, and she often gives
Ooh.
patients, particularly the older ones, where they always kind of want to complain because they want to
Yeah.
get attention, and she won't play any part into it, and she tells them things that they really are not accustomed to hearing.
Ooh.
And she's a doctor. She's been a doctor for many, many years, and it's hilarious when I hear the stories coming out the other end, the thing that she's told some of these
Ooh.
patients.
I
Yeah.
just I've had such bad experiences with doctors in Canada when it comes to my celiac. I got diagnosed um, twice, and then I got misdiagnosed. So I've
Mm.
been fighting with the Canadian medical system since I was 16, and it got to a point where I was so sick. I went to Miss Earth and they were feeding me gluten, and I told them I was celiac and there was nothing they could do.
Mm.
And on the second last day of rehearsal, they had a medical team available for me, and I'm like, well, this is a little too much, a little too late. Thanks. But I'm now poisoned with gluten for the last 5 weeks. I have to go home and wait for a biopsy to see if the damage done will lead to cancer down the road, because that's what celiac is. Your body can't process
Mm.
the gluten protein, you become
Yeah.
malnourished, there is inflammational damage, leads to cancer. And I finally found a physician in Canada who was just like, "Yep, we're going to get your blood work done. You're 100% celiac. You were diagnosed celiac when you were 19, and then people ignored you. Thank you for speaking up." And just seeing how she handled it versus every other doctor, I wouldn't be a good doctor in Canada just because I don't think I'd follow the system the way
Mm.
that I was supposed
Yeah.
to. My sister will be
Yeah.
an incredible physician. I would suck. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't believe they got you a medical team. It's like, if you wouldn't it just be easier to get you the proper food than get a medical team? Surely would have been cheaper as well.
So you're going to love this. My beautiful Miss Earth Australia, Susanna, her mom's Filipina. So she would have her aunt's family and her cousins bring me additional food if I wasn't fed properly. But I got to a point where I was so malnourished from not being fed that I just had to eat food to survive. And I dealt with the ramifications coming home. And it was geez. I came home November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June. It was an 8-month process.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
Oh
fun fact
dear.
for your pageant fans, make sure you bring snacks if you have food allergies or
Yeah,
intolerances
well,
or
the last
diseases.
the last thing you need when you're at an international pageant is to not be able to eat. That is not a good position to
I
be
brought
in.
7 pounds of snacks just in case, and I went through it because we were there for 5 weeks. So,
Oh dear me.
girls, pack
Okay.
your snacks.
Yeah. Final question.
Yes.
If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Ooh. You still have more lessons to learn. I think that'd be so important. I think for me, spirituality and religion are such important facets of my life, but I think we choose the path we're supposed to take based on his guidance to
Mm.
learn lessons our souls are meant to learn. So I think multiple lives are absolutely a thing because it's always a possibility, but I think the work you do in this life are to teach you certain lessons or to influence certain people to learn certain lessons and have a bigger effect. It's kind of like that raindrop butterfly effect
Mm.
where your actions influence others. I think there's so many lessons to learn, and each life is a specific lesson.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree with that. Okay.
cool.
Well, that's about it, Mattea. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you for having me. This has been like the highlight of my day.
That's probably not hard given how emotional your day has been, but I appreciate the
It's
compliment.
it's honestly been a really good day. I got my contracts. I know who the girls competing are going to be. I got to do this awesome interview with you. It's been a good day, minus like the one moment of crying where like my family just went, she's broken. But it's been a really good day.
I'll keep you on the line for just a
Yeah.
second, Mattea, whilst I hang up with the audience. But thanks everyone for watching, whether it's live or on the replay, and submitting your questions. And we will speak to you next time. Hey guys, it's Adrian again. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and remember to head over to pageantlaunch.com and join the launch team for our pageant review site. All you need to do is put in your email address. Thanks, and speak to you next time.